health, the seemingly endless sojourn from the East notwithstanding. She wanted a hot bath, a meal, and a good long sleep, in just that sequence. But there were other matters that must be attended to before she could indulge. First, and her heart quickened measurably at the thought, she would see Julia's baby, the infant girl meant to be Susannah's own namesake. Then, inevitably, she must confront Aubrey Fairgrieve, for this was his house after all, and the child, the precious child, was his too. Susannah sank down onto the edge of the unadorned iron bed, overwhelmed at the enormity of the task that lay before her. She allowed her mind to drift again, her thoughts wafting back through time like smoke dissipating in a breeze. Julia, a romantic at heart, had met Mr. Fairgrieve in Boston, where she held a post as governess to the children of one of his friends, and had eloped with the man only weeks after that first innocent encounter. Despite frantic letters from Susannah begging her to be cautious, take her time, think about what she was doing. Julia's letters had been lengthy and effusive in those early months following the marriage, describing her bridegroom as nothing less than a paragon. He was gloriously handsome, she'd written, a vital, witty man, 33 years of age, with a ready smile, mischievous hazel eyes, and a head of wavy brown hair that gleamed in any degree of light. He stood just under 6 feet tall, and though he was lean, he had broad and powerful shoulders. He had been reared in the timber camps, where hard work made him muscular. But he was a wealthy man now, and polished. He owned a mansion, wore fine suits, kept magnificent horses, and enjoyed a good cigar every night with his brandy. Susannah had read her friend's written rhapsodies eagerly, if a bit enviously, for at the time she herself had been employed as a companion to an imperious widow with a dwindling fortune. And though she had lived in shabby splendor in a gray-shingled Nantucket house, she was, as ever, an outsider. When Julia had written that she was with child, Susannah had been overjoyed, but the news had also intensified the loneliness that had always plagued her. Then, over the course of half a dozen letters, Julia had gone from ebullient delight with her lot in life to bitter uncertainty, followed by rising defiance, and finally, rage. The Fairgrieves' fairy tale marriage had not merely fallen apart, it had exploded in flaming pieces. Yet for all Julia's fury, the precise cause of the destruction remained a mystery. Of course, Seattle was a rambunctious place when compared with staid Boston. Both Julia and Susannah had practically grown up within the sheltering, if austere, confines of St. Mary's Institute for Wayward and Unfortunate Girls, where they had been educated in music, Latin, stitchery, and literature. Raised with the graces of a lady, if not the means, Julia had seemed overjoyed by her good fortune, thriving in the warm light of her husband's love. What had happened to change everything so drastically? Susannah's stomach churned. She had been over and over that question, like someone crawling over sharp stones, trying to find a way out of a dark cave, and all she had to show for the effort were a lot of emotional scrapes and bruises. Still, she couldn't let the matter go. Julia, with all her faults, had been the only family she had, and the bond between them was not easily severed, even by death. Mr. Fairgrieve, for his part, surely had counted himself equally fortunate to land such a prize as Julia, at least in the beginning. For all his money, position, and purported good looks, Julia had been a rare beauty with creamy white skin, enormous green eyes, and a wealth of auburn hair that grew in a tumbling riot of curls. She had been exuberant, full of laughter and mischief, whereas Susannah tended toward shyness and introspection. And yet the two were fast friends from the start. Mere days after Julia's unceremonious arrival at St. Mary's, she had been dragged there.